We're on. Jordan and Zach Stenmark. How are you, boys?
Good.
Yeah, all right.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. Happy to see your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you. I just learned that women use 18,000 words a day and men 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
I think so.
That had to be on the podcast. You can't just say
Yeah,
it
it's
on
got
here
to.
and then...
Yeah, well, as I was saying, I think I reached up by 9 a.m. So
Surely there's some sort of...
does that take into account, talking in your sleep?
And talkative twins.
Yeah. Does that double? Do we halve it?
You definitely double.
Like, do we each get a word counter of 18?
I think you double the amount of words for men.
I think we're going to have to do some Googling.
You want me to Google?
This doesn't seem...
Yeah, Google it.
It's my first
Do you know
Google.
what we need?
This is my first
young
young
man.
Jamie.
We
Young
need a
on
Hey
the job.
Google.
Young Jamie.
Young Jamie.
Young Jamie.
Mm.
Joe Rogan had Mike Tyson on today. Must be the day for it, the heavyweights.
Yeah.
The boys are in town.
Guns are out.
Why are you wearing pants? Explain yourself in
normally
depth.
I'm a I like to, get the pins out.
As in free the knee.
Free the knee. Very pro free the knee movement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just woke up this morning.
Do you have aircon at home?
I do have aircon at home.
So could it be that you were a little bit unsure of what it was going to be like when you got outside in 45 degrees?
You know what it was? I was
It's
feeling
finally
flowy.
changed.
It was a Friday. I was feeling like linen pants were the way to go. I was going to go with my camo, which is generally my make things happen pants. They're military. They get me in the mood for action
Yeah.
and structure. Today was flowy. Let's flow into the weekend.
So in other words, milk was a bad choice.
Milk was about choice.
Yeah.
Thank
Now
you,
you're
Will.
making sense.
Yeah.
20,000 words by women, apparently, and 7,000 words spoken by men.
I can tell you right now that I would average like 7,000 words before 9 a.m.
What is our source? Scientific.
Is this Wikipedia?
Scientificamerican.com. I reckon
Like
that.
that thought from a university student like that.
Well, I mean, it's important. It can get you in a lot of trouble.
Mm.
And I think we've just found another one, haven't we, with different numbers?
There's a few here different
I'm
ones.
going to have to start
13,000 words.
posting links. Is
Start
this peer reviewed?
This is all just I'm a useless info junkie.
So do you think
Have they also
.com.
studied the quality of those words?
the other thing I want to put out there is how do they count them? Is there they put a camera on someone's face and someone's clicking every time there's a word, or how do we think we're counting?
Well, it might be in there.
Mm.
It's, yeah.
You guys keep
none,
talking.
none of
I'll
us
figure
have
it out.
been the subject of this research, have we? So,
No.
yeah, well,
In
might
two-
look into that
I'm
one.
going to take that one
Podcast
with a very
too.
large grain of salt.
Yeah.
In 2007, a study led by Dr.
Matthias Mehl.
Matthias. I was going Matthias. Matthias.
Don't worry, I've got
The
Intellect.
pronunciation is beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, me or him?
Both. It was fabulous.
Either way, he's got a good...
I just took his compliment.
Could I have that back?
Yeah.
Just,
Their findings: women speak 16,215 words per day, and men speak 15,669 words per day.
wow.
Well, that's not a big enough distinction for me for it to matter.
Yeah.
And also,
Why does
isn't gender a social construct?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I've got to be
good
careful.
Oh, that's
You
a,
do need to be careful.
you put that out there.
My opinion is that it's not. What about you guys?
My opinion is that, well, I think we came up with these terms for people with no negative skew on anything untowards people. It's just we decided that for example, we all deem, I'm holding a cup here, this to be a cup because
It's a glass.
Sure, it's a glass. We can converse and say, oh, I picked up the glass. But so I guess what I'm saying is if we are suggesting that Reese is a male because I'm saying to Jordan, oh, I met this guy, it's just an easy way to describe and distinguish between the two. So I don't mean any negativity. So I think...
Are you pointing to the language being the main issue?
Well, I think it is. I think it's like if I'm trying to describe Reese, Jordan says, what's Reese like? Or what does he look like? Or Or if he doesn't know his gender, I'm trying to say like, oh, he's a guy.
Don't
he's
describe me on
he's
air.
blah blah blah. Yeah, true.
Well, it's
just a god. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like it's more to do with language for me, and if people are using it with a negative skew, then that's bad. But I would like if you were to misinterpret gender, you don't mean it in a negative way. Do you know what I mean?
Much of the debate moves away from the topic and to language.
Mm-hmm.
There's two debates going on. People are talking past each other. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds over the next couple of years while it is the hot topic.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's all about intent. Where are you coming from? Are you like? Am I saying it with a negative skew? Because then whatever it is, like in language, that's the bad bit. But if you're just trying to like describe or convey a message in a completely like non-aggressive manner, why does it?
Because at the end of the day, words and all like there's words are only one form of communication. At the end of the day, we have receivers for so many other forms of communication, and we, some believe that there's even more paths of communication that we don't pick up on.
Or even within words as a form of language, there's tone, speed, volume. How on earth did we get here?
Yeah.
Body language.
Oh, exactly.
A good one.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I mean, Jordan and I, being twins, people get our names wrong all the time. If I was to get upset that someone called me Jordan,
I don't think I ever have got you guys wrong.
I don't think
so.
that's true.
Yeah.
but if I was
You
to,
and Tom Forward, detail orientated. That's you.
Me and Tom Ford.
yeah, we're likening you to Tom Ford.
Because he,
It's
first
been
time he
done
ever met
before,
us,
yeah.
he walked up to us and said, "Hi Jordan, hi Zach." And got it in one. It was amazing.
I do have a lot of Tom Ford about me, actually.
Yeah, you do.
Now that
You
you
do.
say it.
But yeah, I think if
It's
we
the hair.
all I was going to say is if we were to be upset about that when it's like the intent, then
That's a good example. So you can intelligently connect the dots there. That's not deliberate. There's no reason to get upset there.
no. All people are trying to do is be like, "Hi, Jordan," because they just don't know.
Do you reckon you could detect if someone was trying to be a dick about it and call you the
Totally.
wrong names deliberately?
I
Has it
think-
happened?
Oh, I think people like to have fun with it, and like at the end of the day, it's my name. Like I don't know how bad, like unless there was some way they could create a negative sort of skew to it. But
At the end of the day, most people already feel like bad enough that they don't know the difference.
I think that's the other.
That's the one thing about being a twin is you truly realise. I say this all the time that you don't own your name. Just because you're Reese doesn't mean that you're you own Reese as a name. People wear this badge of honour as I'm Jordan and no one can take that away from me. But what's to say that our lovely parents weren't, oh, that's Jordan, that's Zach, and then we were sitting there and in the time that they didn't put name tags on our feet, it wasn't swapped.
Yeah.
I could easily be originally with the intent of being called Zach.
Did they ever
No,
talk
Jordan.
about the possibility that they got you guys wrong?
We've never asked, but I don't really.
Like,
get
could
it.
you have been born first?
Well,
I mean, second, sorry.
Yeah, could I be the younger twin?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know.
And what we're highlighting is how much it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter,
But
in
would
the
it have
scheme of
changed
the
our
world.
lives? Like, how much would it have changed our lives? That's the big thing. Is like the perception of these rules that we create behind, like the fact that for a long time, I guess Zach was almost a leader in the relationship because he was older, because he was bigger, because he was. So then it's like this perception of someone that, that is because he came first. Did that psychologically change my idea on how we would go into situations together? You know.
So
Well,
even as
but I
kids,
think-
there was that. What is it? A hierarchy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing they did say about, I don't know, the doctors said to Mum,
Put it back.
yeah, put them back, they're not done,
Yeah.
they're an undercooked loaf of bread. No,
Chickens need 5 more minutes.
yeah, it's a little bit rare. No, they said,
The next one will be the smart one.
yeah,
Louis.
exactly, he's
Smarter, better, more talented. You name it.
he's a kind of just both of us mashed together. Pardon me. He, they actually said like I had a great desire to come out first, and that's why it all happened that way. And they were just talking about feelings and kind of the way it seems to have also carried through my life, like a determination. Because when I was born, had breathing issues, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know how to go," but they were like, "Oh, this is a very determined child." I don't know why the doctors could pick up on that, but they did, and that seems to have run true, I think.
And you're cruisier. You just come out when you're ready.
I say, like, people have always said I'm cruisier, but I don't know. To date, I don't think I am. I like organisation. I like routine. I like a lot of stuff where Zach's like, it's whatever. It's chill. I thought that was me for years. I thought I was, I'm Mr. Relaxed, but I've never have been. Tied my shoes too tight because I thought they were going to fall off as a kid. Like, all that kind of stuff.
Still do that.
Yeah. He's the worrier though. Yeah. Like he's
warrior and warrior.
But yeah, sure. Whenever we learn a new skill, I will go and just be like, "Okay, basketball. I'll just give him the ball. I'll work it out." He's like, "Oh, where do you place your like finger on the ball here? And my feet need to be this, and everything's so like methodically." Yeah.
Well, it's perfection. The a lot of people have the idea that striving for the most perfect golf swing or swimming stroke or whatever it is gets the best result, but not always the best shooters. Golf swings, whatever it is, have had the best stroke. So it's kind of like that. Do you give yourself the best opportunity by having the greatest technique, or do you just go and practice that technique till you perfect that itself?
There's a line, right, of obsessing over attention to detail and letting instinct kicking. That might be what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You took the words out of my mouth.
Did you guys decide whether Joe Rogan went to the GQ Awards?
Oh yeah. He called me and was like, "Can I sit at the table?" And I was like, "I don't know."
You guys were fighting about this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we were. I believe Jordan.
I didn't think it was him.
Robert Whittaker received was it Sportsman of the Year at GQ?
International Sportsman of the Year or something like that.
An award, because he deserves it. And we met him on the night. He was a really nice guy. And Joe Rogan gave him the award.
I just don't think it was. But
I could be wrong.
That's
but
good.
Another very large ball
Young
band.
Jamie.
Another very large ball band gave him the award.
Large as in round? Because he's not large.
No, exactly. See, this is the point. Like, I think he was, he was a thick gentleman.
Joe Rogan's not small.
Oh, he's pretty small. I think he's
not
like
a tall dude.
5'8" or something?
Yeah.
As in not small in girth, in body.
No, he's a tank.
He didn't go.
It was Dana White.
I knew it.
Oh, that's a fail.
Yes.
That's a huge fail.
See, but I remembered it was. There we go. I knew it because
Yeah,
that
I'm
is
wrong.
not what Joe Rogan looks
I'm
like.
wrong.
Because the reason why was because I was literally watching Ballers at the same time as we were traveling back and forth on the plane, and I was like, Joe Rogan looks like that.
This has kind of been a common scenario in our lives. I've been like,
Show us
I
Joe
swear
now.
it was this person. And then I'm like, no, I'm dead wrong.
See, but this comes back to the conversation of detail oriented.
Yeah.
I find that my cheeks are hurting. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because it's not him.
UFC and billionaire. UFC
See?
extraordinaire.
They all just seem the same to
Billionaire
me.
Dana White.
But see, are you now just,
How tall is he?
gender stereotyping, well, not gender, like stereotyping a white, bald male that is part of the UFC as one person?
Yeah.
Accidentally, because I'm not the most avid UFC consumer. So I was more interested in the person I was sitting next to, not the person that was across the table from me. But
He's 173 centimetres.
oh, look,
And how tall is Dana?
Sure.
Dana's a monster.
he was a monster.
Because he's a big guy.
Yeah, he was a fighter as well, yeah?
No, he's never been a fighter. 1.8.
Come on. That's a
He's
typo.
my height.
Is Dana?
Okay, so
is
they're not
he the
actually
original,
that different in size.
correct me if I'm wrong,
Say that.
is he the original, like he, one of the main
Creators, yeah.
that's what
Click
I thought.
on... I'm sure he was a fighter.
I think he was a manager. Dana White was a manager of fighters in the UFC, and then he
Gotcha.
bought it out after the UFC. Like, I don't know.
Well, Dana, I'm really sorry for mistaking you.
And I'm sure you did really well over the WMA purchasing of UFC.
Yeah. How do you get invited to GQ, by the way?
GQ. Look, we've had a long association with the Gentleman's Quarterly. They're great guys. I think they were one of the first magazines we shot when we started out. Was it 7 years ago or something like that?
Yeah.
And so we haven't been in the career long enough to do a 10-year challenge, by the way. I was looking into that.
Jordan, but you can do a 10-year challenge.
I know that, but I wanted to do it within the career. I thought it would be nice to show the growth, but not that much growth.
No, I want to see school photos.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to see school
I was
photos.
having this discussion the other day. Back then, I don't think we took photos. Like, I had a Sony Ericsson with a camera that I didn't use. And
I thought you
that's
were
in my
speaking
phone.
on behalf of the human race then. Like,
Oh,
we
no,
didn't take photos then.
No, I was speaking to like
You personally.
26, well, at the time, 17, 18-year-old males. I don't think they were taking huge amounts of photos themselves.
Not the amount that is taken now.
No, that's for sure.
A selfie wasn't a thing.
No.
I had a friend, this is super interesting, I'm not going to name him because it probably embarrasses him slightly, who he's 31 now and didn't understand what a selfie was. And not that it's a bad thing, but I actually quite like that he still didn't quite understand. He says...
Yeah, I'd say that's an achievement.
It is. It is, but culturally it was interesting because obviously there's comical elements to it, like people carrying a pole. And how it got banned at art
What's the
galleries and
difference between a
stuff.
stick and a pole?
Jordan, stop.
Just put it out there.
He literally goes, "Oh, dude, check out this selfie," and it was just literally a photo that someone had taken of it.
So, yeah, that's just an image.
Yes.
That's not a selfie, mate.
And I just said to him, "Dude, that's not a selfie." He goes, "Look at this selfie I posted," and I was like, "Dude, it's not a selfie."
So his definition of a selfie would be a picture of himself.
Yes,
That's probably fair enough.
it's a fair assumption, but it's wrong.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, like it's. I don't know how he got that long. Like he's either really sheltered or just like he's got a strong, sense of self. Doesn't need to question himself on his ideas, which is quite good in this day and age.
It's a certain person also, though, that takes selfies.
Mm.
Like, none of my mates take selfies, but they can identify when someone else is. That's a selfie-taking person.
So it's interesting. We were never big fans of the selfie specifically, but it is conducive.
We should probably take a selfie.
A group
right now.
selfie. I value a group selfie, but I
got him out. The host. I got the host out.
Yeah, I value the group thing if you're trying to be remember a time or whatever. But I think I don't know, the very self-indulgent one is I don't know. Not
The thing
for
that
me, but
I've
I
always found confusing about a selfie on a holiday is that you take more time spend more time. There was a dyslexic brain in there. You spend more time taking the selfie on your holiday, not enjoying the circumstance, than actually remembering anything that was around there. And it's kind of like when you're walking around with this thing, looking through the lens of it. I don't know. It's just always seemed kind of.
We live in a time where it's beautiful to see those photos pop up on Instagram or Facebook of Messi celebrating a goal. And there's 1,000 people taking a photo with their phone, and then there's an old couple just experiencing it, receiving it. Take that image back.
You just
even 20 years, and people were like, what are they all doing? They're not enjoying it.
Well, I think it's so interesting because everyone's viewing it through this square or this rectangle.
Black mirror.
Yeah, black mirror. But you could literally be you're there, and the reason why you're all taking a photo so everyone knows you were there. But why not be present there?
That's it, isn't it? People take these kind of photos so everyone else knows they're there.
Which I think ties into what we were talking about before we started this was the validation thing that surrounds all of this currently with social media.
You were quite loud about it, so lay down your philosophy.
Can I pause for a second, add in a little thing of going, how do we think as a silo, how do we think storytelling, the ability to storytell, has now been affected by the fact that we can have visual aids in every single story? I think it's pretty interesting.
We'll get to that, I reckon.
No, but okay.
Like we can't
Oh,
describe.
no, we can go in that and come back to validation. We can do that.
Yeah.
I think.
I'd like to think about that one.
Yeah, think about it.
Do you want me to comment on it first?
If
Yeah,
you,
go.
there's no
I
rules
would
here.
just say people are like, this is why people aren't as good at telling jokes anymore, or as descriptive in their language. They don't. I think people's linguistic ability is being like sort of dulled because they don't have the capacity to actually explain and set a scene and create a scenario. They just go.
You think it's got worse? You think?
I think it's got worse because people aren't going. Like people just go, oh, so I was here, and then they just like show you the thing.
And do you feel something if you took a picture of it? Do you really feel, or do you remember the picture that you took? Do you feel the thing that you go, when I was here, I was in Greece and I looked at the thing and I was like, oh my God, I've never felt like this before. But, or when you go, hey, look at this photo, it was really great. We had a great time. Like, is the word feeling in there?
To a degree, I'm quite numb to it. I think
Mm.
I actually have been disappointed in myself on a few occasions when I look at the photo and remember that I didn't really soak up what or where I was.
Mm.
What about you guys who are photographed every day
Mm.
and filmed? Is there any special attachment, or is it work?
There are, well, here's the thing, some photos, they come with a memory for me. So I'll be
We're
like,
talking
oh,
work photos
But-
specifically. Yeah, that one.
specifically.
So-
That's
Separate
why
the
we're
two.
twins, yeah.
So work photos, I think it actually, there's both. So work photos, like, I'll just pick up the name after I drop it.
Go
When we shot the cover of GQ with Kylie Minogue.
Yeah. It's on the floor just there.
Okay, it's a heavy one.
Yeah. I'll be glad to help.
Yeah. Anyway, I look at the cover when we shot that and go, I remember that day we were in Avalon. We shot with her at this amazing house. The surf was incredible. We had an amazing chat with her. I'd never met her before. Couldn't believe how small she was.
Like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Sometimes he gets them mixed up. You know?
And so for me, there's a lot of other memories within that, and what was happening around that time, and the scenario.
That was quite a while ago, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
remember. It was
was
So
like
is that up
5
there
years
with
ago.
one of your more memorable shoots?
It was I think definitely just because it's like
It
a cover of
touched a lot
GQ and it's Kylie Minogue, and it's also so many. It was really interesting to see. It actually taught us a lot about how media works, because the interest level of 50-year-old men of us increased, because they were all like, you met Kylie Minogue, you shot with her, and they were all like, tell me about Kylie Minogue, because they all loved her. So instantly we had some relevance in their life just because we were a part of that scenario. And so that was really interesting.
And what about
Pick
pick an image?
in regular life.
Yeah.
I think you're right. There's a lot of things that can be quite desensitizing. I think video can make it feel more so of an experience of authenticity, because pictures are so like a moment, but a lot of them are manufactured. But I don't think they're ever a substitute for the real thing. I remember I was walking through. We were on Top Model. And
He
Jordan
never stops talking about this.
Well, it's genuinely so. We were on Top Model. Jordan was working with some of the girls. I had a bit of time off in between, in the episode.
You guys are mentors, right?
Yeah, we were mentors.
Yeah.
And so Jordan was mentoring a couple of girls on their shoot, and I had like 2 hours off. And we were in Tasmania in Cradle Mountain, and I was like, I've got a little bit of time. I'll go walk through this track. And anyway, I went for a walk by myself, and it was
picture.
yeah. Well, it's this really old forest, massive trees, so wide, and you can walk through one of them, and it was very cold. Anyway, I just started walking.
It's very untouched, isn't it?
So untouched.
I've not been there, but I think I'm sure there's something like 1,000 species of maybe bacteria and insects and stuff that
So
I
much
found nowhere else.
stuff. It's amazing.
It just had an energy about the whole place, and I kind of just got lost in this forest and just walked. Like I just kept walking and just stood there and kind of took a moment to actually. I didn't take any photos while I was in there. I just walked and was so blown away by the whole experience. And no one else was with me, but it was just so enjoyable because I didn't even go to technology and I didn't really care about showing anyone else.
Do you think it was even more amazing because you'd just been in that photo, maybe a bit of fakeness
very
world?
reality-based world. It was probably too polarizing.
Well, it's very high up, energy, very sort of not grounded at all because there's lots of different tensions and
Fakeness is not what I wanted to say. Artificial.
Yeah.
Artificial realm.
Well,
Polar opposite.
Yeah.
Because it's not
Immersed in
fake. At
nature.
the end of the day, like that show is very much based around creating opportunities for these girls that that they won't otherwise get because this girl Elena, the girl who won, has now gone on to work with so many great brands and really been successful. So
it's proper cut through.
Yeah.
But it is a very high, intense energy scenario, and this was a very grounding, real experience of this is what this is nature. This is just like what we have. There's nothing. There's no egos. There was no anything really.
you could say it really was like how they say if a tree falls in the forest, like what's the
I was the only one to hear the tree,
exactly.
except it didn't.
You know what I'm
fall,
saying? You know what I'm saying?
What is that saying? Someone get it out properly.
Yeah,
Go,
it's,
Jordan. I believe there's something to do with a bear.
is it something to do? If a tree falls in the forest, does a bear scratch its back on it? No.
It's more. I think it's more of a
Does it
riddle
make a
than a
sound?
saying, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
I thought
if a tree,
If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Yeah.
Is a philosophical thought experiment that raises questions regarding observation and perception.
So essentially, the reason why I bring it up is because essentially, it's Zach had this moment from them be replicated, and I don't know. I just always believe that not the idea that things happen. I don't believe in things happen for a reason, but it's like he goes there, has this amazing experience, and it's like the ripple effect of this thing that then he goes and talks about. I don't know. Essentially, like his own tree falls in the forest moment. I don't know. Like,
did you get to see the forest?
I didn't see the forest.
Have you been back?
no, I want to.
You guys have got to go to the forest.
I know. I need to
I
go
will
back to
say
the
this,
forest.
Show him the forest, man.
I know.
I think he's got to experience it for himself.
I will say this though, on the same time where he disappeared, we were just about to wrap on set, and a wombat runs through the middle of set. Unbelievable. And one guy got it on video, but it's like this shaky thing.
See, that is the value of being able to capture that, though, because Jordan could tell that story and go, look at this video, and you do actually get to see the, I guess, the contrast between having like this crew in the middle of this amazing forest and then this wombat just goes meow straight through, and you're kind of like, it is kind of funny. So, and it's something that probably a lot of people wouldn't have experienced, seeing a wombat run so fast, considering,
That's your spirit animal,
Stature.
right?
I've got a lot of wombat about me.
Yeah.
A lot of Tom Ford and a lot of wombat.
Yeah. That should be your new fragrance. Tom Ford.
Tom Ford.
Wombat.
The wombat.
Wombat by Tom Ford.
Oh, jeez. Tell us more about the start of it all.
How we got started in general.
Yeah.
Well,
Not conception.
no, okay, we weren't
Careers.
talking. We weren't there, so were we? I don't know. Anyway,
That's deep.
that's
Well,
very deep. Yeah,
It was too much for me right now.
Yeah. I guess I'll start a little bit before. The dream was always to be a professional sportsman, and that's definitely gone into all facets of life. Like that's really rung true into everything that we do. So then, when we were playing in the TAC Cup with GWS, and then a friend of ours, we were at study camp, and he was like, "You need to,"
Because we're in Year 12 at this point,
yeah.
trying to do well in our HSC. And
Yeah.
What's the
Train.
Stack Cup?
The TAC Cup.
TAC
is-
Cup.
TAC.
It's it's the essentially under 18s AFL.
Ah.
Essentially, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And we were playing in that with GWS before they were an AFL team, and they're about to go into the VFL. And anyway, so this guy says you guys should try modelling, and we laughed. I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. Never thought about it in my life. Just was not.
He even had to preface, like, you should be models by, I'm not cracking onto you. And he isn't gay or anything, but he just was like, I'm not cracking onto you. You genuinely could do very well. And we were like, nah.
It just wasn't up our alley. Like, we weren't the kind, as I was saying before, at 17, 18.
Why is he allowed to say this? What's his...
So he's a smart dude. I think he had a little bit of access to the world. He worked
As in the fashion world.
Yeah, he worked in fashion. He kind of knew that kind of stuff, was into brands and stuff. So he kind of could see a small... Yeah, he could just tell. I guess it's like someone who's, spent their whole lives in athletics and sees a kid run and goes, hey, you're pretty natural, you should be a runner. So I guess it was kind of that circumstance. And then we just kind of laughed it off and went, yeah, sure. And then Zach became really close mates with him.
He actually became a super close friend of mine, and he's actually he's got an amazing story. He's a really cool interesting guy that he's actually just made a video game and moved to London with his wife, because long story it's called. Hell Let Loose is the game. It's actually remarkable. It doesn't get released probably for another, I don't know, year. He'll tell me at some point. But it is, people are absolutely stoked about it. But he
super proud of what he's been able to achieve, especially off $17,000 of his own money.
Yeah.
That he built at like 2 a.m. while working.
He would literally just work at. He was working. Well, he was iTunes. Then he worked at another company, but he was literally just all hours.
There's no such thing as a perfect writer. This is why I use Grammarly to check my notes.
Bloody ads. It's not your ad, is it?
Did you look up the YouTube?
Is that it?
This is it. His company's called Black Matter.
It's really cool.
It's like
let's say 400,000 views.
It's like Band Brothers.
It's so sick. Like to the point of
I've played the game.
$17,000.
Yeah.
He started with, and he got out of the game. And then he got, was it a GoFundMe? Or he did like a, He's a Kickstarter. Did a Kickstarter campaign and reached a goal within like a couple
just super fast.
Anyway.
And it was just great because he's the most deserved person. He's such a hard worker. He's also one of the most intelligent people I know. He's got an eidetic memory, and it's quite funny. He remembers everything you spoke about and what you were wearing and where you were the first time you met.
This is my dude.
It's quite fascinating. It's a fun weekend. Anyway, he was the one who said you should model, and we were like, yeah, we just waved it off. But then we were friends, and he was like, dude, seriously, this is like, I'm not being stupid. Like, you could actually do really well. And so I remember we went into an agency.
We went to Chadwick's first.
Yeah, we went into Chadwick's,
which is a Sydney, and they're one of the original Sydney agencies. They've kind of held court in Sydney as a good men's agency for a long time.
Anyway, then we went and our
mum was represented by Chadwick's, wasn't she?
I don't know. You would know.
Pretty sure.
Anyway,
Could you get him a gig doing calf modelling?
100%.
The babies.
100%. Yeah. I was thinking, Prada could use.
You said I could jump in at certain times if I could add value.
For heels or something.
Yeah, I reckon women's heels.
Yeah, you'd kill it.
Yeah, I reckon Christian Louboutin's up your alley.
And then it was funny because that agency actually didn't have anyone who could see us, so they were like, "Oh, we'll just take a photo and then you can come back." And then so we went to another agency.
They called us that night, remember?
Hold on. So we went to Vivian's and they saw us and they were like, "We want to sign you on the spot," and we were like, "Okay." And then anyway, we took some photos and Jordan and I sitting on this couch in that agency, and we turned to each other and we were like, "This won't affect football."
Yeah,
like football's number one.
It was like a real university conversation.
It was like, it's not.
Don't let this foolishness get in the way of the real goal.
Exactly, and we need to.
We'll
just do it for fun and make some good cash on the side, and and then basically so then Chadwick's called and we were like, "Oh, sorry, we've gone to Vivian's," and then Vivian's organised a test shoot for us. We did that, and that got, like 2 days after, it got put out
On Tumblr.
on Tumblr, and it got tumbled some many millions of times. And this guy, Milan Mikvirovic, found it, and he was like, he called our agent in Australia and was like, I want to fly the boys to Miami and shoot a 30-page editorial with the boys. And at the time, we thought 30 pages was a normal amount of like pages in a magazine, because the magazine was called L'Officiel, which is like the official man.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was a big magazine in Paris, and he yeah, beautiful accent.
Oh, you make my ears cry.
Anyway, he was like, so they were like, we're going to fly the boys straight to it was Miami.
This
Shoot
is
30
week
pages.
one.
Yeah, and we thought, 30 pages is normal. If you get 8 pages, that's usually, you're pretty happy with 8 pages. So we had no like reference point of what was good. So we went to Miami, which was, it was amazing experience. And then we ended up, then we flew home, and Tom Ford called us like a week later and called our agent, and I was sitting in a,
Shoot at Sydney.
we weren't. We were with Max.
Oh, that was the Milan one. Yeah.
Yeah, we were with Max, this guy who owns the game, just catching up, and my agent called me and said, oh, Tom Ford wants to fly to London tomorrow, or I think it was, or the next day, something like that, to meet you. And
Still through Vivian's at this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still through Vivian's. And then, we were like, oh, I think we should probably go. And so,
Can I just stop by saying, when they said Tom Ford, I was like, I kind of knew, like I knew who he was, but it wasn't like straight. Like he's a legend in the industry. He's an icon. Like he's so big today. But 7 years ago, especially as a footballer, I was probably not top of mind. So I was kind of going, cool,
the
Tom
glasses
Ford,
guy,
the glasses guy, like not really fully understanding the gravity of the situation and just the.
So if Gary Ablett had invited you to dinner, you would have chosen that instead.
I probably would have there would have been, like I was excited, but I couldn't truly understand.
If Geelong had said, come, we want you to come train,
that would have been like.
Jordan would have been like, oh, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
And Jordan was like, well, yeah, anyway, Tom Ford was calling him.
Don't get me wrong,
Jumped on
Tom,
the plane.
respect, big respect.
Yeah, and so then we had that experience, and then he actually said to us, you have to move overseas. And that was for us,
The moment.
because Dad came with us, because we were like fresh out of school, and he was kind of going, what's this all about? How do we make this? How do we, can the boys convert this into a business? And I guess the answer was yes.
Mm.
And he was seeing kind of the lay of the land.
And so then from there, Tom Ford, just after spending a couple of hours with him, he was like, you guys need to move overseas. So we moved to London, and then we shot Abercrombie and Fitch, and we shot Ralph Lauren, and in Boston, and then we shot.
Overseas is a big place. Was there any like more specific advice?
So
where to go?
London or New York were the main places he suggested, but he said start with London because it's the place to build a career.
Yeah.
A lot of, especially at that time, when you start, you need to build a book. So you need to have you need to build your like a resume in a way, all the different shoots to give people an example, like references of what else you can do other than just like Blue Steel or the Tigra. No. But yeah, so they need to be able to see what you actually do. You have versatility. How do you photograph? What other characters or things can you
portray?
Do you guys fall into like a style now, like based on this book?
I mean, we've shot so many different things now, but I think we've always been high fashion, which is like obviously the big sort of luxury brands, but still being able to maintain a bit of commercial and I guess more all-American style guys.
Well, to be able to have a broad range in anything, you need to be multifaceted. You need to have a broad range. You need to have a broad appeal. That's like anything to do with branding, products, whatever it is. If you don't have a broad offering, you can't sell enough. And at the end of the day, we are products to be purchased as an idea. Like they buy us, buy our intellectual property, which is then producing images for them to then use to sell the clothes. So if we're doing that and we can provide a broad range, that means we have more sources or more potential ways of income. Because it's just high fashion. That's one revenue stream. If you're also commercial and you can work with jeans brands and underwear brands and all that kind of stuff.
And the way they differ is, a lot more high fashion stuff is more arty and more sort of conceptual, where commercial stuff is more of a, there's more fun to it, more kind of everyday feel lifestyle vibe. I mean, they're both still lifestyles, but I guess there's a different feel to them. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're doing. We're selling things through a reflection of a lifestyle.
Embodiment of a character, a kind of
an idea that
avatar,
someone would want to be.
Well, yeah, an avatar of what their consumer is, and we need to stand for that and depict that lifestyle. And then anywhere outside of that is if we can show a broad range, even within the campaign, then that gives them the most,
especially
to sell.
And especially today when they're all looking at now, there's the shotgun approach of media of just trying to hit every single person it just doesn't work. It has to be so much more targeted, and because of all the data we have, they can understand that this demographic, they're after this specific product. How do we target it? We can target it through this, and it's actually getting more and more deeper into specific data on their behaviours, their likes, their searches, their everything, which is scary and saying, right.
I think last time we were talking, you guys mentioned that you're producing a third of your own content, and that's quite unique from your end, yeah? There wouldn't be many people doing that, right?
I guess from a point of view of being in the modelling fashion, high fashion point of view, that starting there and going this way, I think there's too many guys that are doing that capacity of going, hey, all right, well, we work as models, but then we also work on the whole creative back end side of things. So, working with brands or companies like L'Oreal, and then obviously they, in the fragrance space, they produce for Armani, but that's one of the campaigns that we did, and working on that side of creative and being in the campaign, I don't think there's too many people doing that aspect.
Yeah, having the offering of we storyboard, we do all the creative, we even do all the pictures and stuff, and then
pictures, you mean those in pitch documents?
Pitch documents, yeah. And then be in the campaign, but also working across the whole spectrum. There's not heaps of people doing that, and I mean you see it in movies. You see heaps of actors who are, they might star and direct or whatever. So it kind of, we thought, why couldn't we do the same thing?
We've been on enough sets over 7 or 8 years that we could. Not that we're saying we can do anyone else's job better than them, but we have experience in the space. We felt we have a creative outlet, and that we could produce something of that can. At the end of the day, the goal is to sell product, and if we
just have to
facilitate that, then
Well, being very real about that too. I think there's a lot of people in this industry who, and looking at the influencer space, they just go how fun and fluffy and lovely going to all these events and things are, or producing this thing or getting these clothes or whatever. But at the end of the day, the only reason why these brands actually interact with any of us is so they can sell more product. It's literally stripped back to that. And it's we don't think of it in a bad way, but it's just, that's their goal. And if we can help them sell more product, that's why there's a transaction there.
You mentioned the word influencer, and I don't think we covered this self-indulgence topic that you brought up and we were talking about before the podcast. Go wild, man.
It's interesting where validation sits in our society now, because people are using social media, and I think it feeds people with the whole thing of how many likes can I get, views, comments, etc. How much love can people give me? And people are seeking it more and more from this little rectangle, and it's stopping people from finding it within themselves and having enough care for themselves to not go, if everyone knows that I have this
like Supreme hoodie. Everyone thinks I'm cool, and I'm therefore validated as having money or being powerful or being more elite than other people. And I think this validation thing is getting a little bit dangerous in a way because there's no limit to people just going, how do I top this person, rather than just going, I'm happy with this. Especially the thing that I just have and the consumer items and stuff. And not that it's any different. I mean, you look at, even 80, 90 years ago, people were still doing that with products and stuff, but it's just so on a much bigger scale because everyone can see it. It's not just your little circle here of...
Well, it's on steroids because of tech, yeah?
Exactly. And you look at,
it's
even
also
the idea is there's no limit to the amount of, the only limit to amount of likes that you could achieve is the amount of accounts that could be created by the population of 7 billion, or the access to the amount of people that were on Instagram at that time. Now, are people striving for that? They're striving for the most amount of things, and that's just an unattainable thing. It's like the idea of saying, I'm going to be happy all the time. You can't be. Nor can you strive to be validated consistently. We should go up and down. We should have peaks and troughs of happiness, contentment, whatever it is. And I think to Zach's point, it's like the validation item shouldn't be seeking validation from others because it is such a volatile graph that we look at. Whereas within yourself, and we've all struggled with confidence. Every single person on this earth. If you haven't, you're not human. And I know myself, if I seek validation if it's in relationships, if it's in...
It'll just never be enough.
No.
You can't, because that's also you taking from other people.
Mm.
You need to find it internally and create it internally. Otherwise, you're consistently I need it from this person here, and it'll never be enough. You can never seek enough. But if you can create it within yourself,
which is really harder.
Well, it's a self-love, self-care thing.
It's so hard. We all do it. And especially coming from a sports background, I did it my whole sporting career. Whole life. I just went, coach, pick me, love me, say I'm doing good things. Someone over here do that. Please tell me I'm doing a good job. And then until you realise and build that confidence base of, no, I've got it. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And that's not something you learn and stay with. It's not like you learn 1 + 1 = 2 and that is it. Your confidence level will dip and you will question yourself again and seek validation again. But if you can find a way to remind yourself why you love yourself and find that value system that brings you back to a place of confidence within yourself, that's where we're getting to. And I think that's why Zach's saying social media is so dangerous, because we're not even finding a value system. We're not even building one. Our value system is the photos that are based, that we say the 900 photos that we posted. Hold up. The 900 photos that we posted and the amount of likes that we get and the more that we strive for, and then hoping, and then the button resets when we post a new photo because we're hoping for the same amount next time. So there's no baseline of confidence.
But not to mention the other thing I think about is it's like, I'm just trying to verbalize it.
You've been trying to butt in for 10 minutes.
I know, I'm good at it, aren't I? I'm good at it.
He's passionate.
Well, it's just where you can't, what in you needs that? That makes sense. So can you identify, so say, we take a watch as an example. Did I buy this watch because I want everyone to say, oh, nice watch, man, oh,
nice watch guy.
Yeah, nice watch guy. And be like, you're so cool because you have a sick watch. Or did I buy it because I really like it and I don't care what anyone else thinks? Because if you're buying something for that reason of, I want everyone else to know, you just did something for everyone else, not for you. If you love it, you should do that. And that's where it should stem from.
When it comes to likes and followers, though, it's fascinating to be a spectator of the inability to identify what those essentially just tallies are. Like the idea of buying likes or followers and the inability to convert. I have just turned my dollars and cents into validation because other people will think that these are real likes and followers, and now I'm happy for maybe 5-6 seconds, phone closed, deep hole, low.
Yeah, well, it's the same idea of
Because-
shopping. It's the same construct that we built around consumerism, of the idea of people, and I've always thought it's not a great idea to buy in sadness. Don't spend in sadness, because it's the same idea of drinking. It's addiction. When we talk about addiction in general, and we were having this conversation before, I have a big passion behind the idea. So yeah, I'm very passionate about the idea of sticking as far away from addiction. So if it's coffee, if it is spending, if it's something that you become reliant on for any kind of emotional feeling or need in your life, step away from it, take a break, because you, Mr. Butter, because that is a house of cards that will fall apart, because you can't. The money will run out, or the interest will fall away, or the coffee may not do the same as what it used to do, so you increase the amount of coffee that you need. And so it's kind of like, again, it comes back to, how do I find within myself what I can build upon to make sure, hey, I don't need a coffee to wake up. I don't need that. I enjoy coffee, so I have a coffee. I like shopping. I don't need shopping. It doesn't make me happy because I shop. I needed that t-shirt. I like that t-shirt, but do I really need it? Could I live without the t-shirt? And then you're not building your happiness around items either. And that comes back to the whole contentment thing we were talking about before. It's just, I guess, yeah, it's building your house of cards with a layer of cement underneath.
I also liken that to the whole thing of fitness, health, weight loss scenario, when everyone goes, I've worked really hard, I deserve this piece of cake. Wait, you deserve the thing that's been made, like, why should it be about a treat system?
It's one of the great counterintuitive
Exactly.
ideas. Yeah.
So why wouldn't you change the thought of, like, it's all on the perception, like we were talking about before. You go, oh, well, I deserve this, but you should look at the workout as not the hard bit, but the amazing bit, because you're yourself. So it's like, if you change your perception of the training of the thing because you're trying to make yourself a better version of you, then you wouldn't have a negative skew to need something that you feel as though you're going without, because you could also perceive that piece of cake or that whatever as making you not a better version of you.
The word perception comes up a lot in this kind of discussion that we're saying, and it's like, to get someone to pivot their perception or view on anything is so hard, because we get so stuck in what we do. We're really stuck in our ideas because they achieve results. And we were talking about, and the reason why I bring up perception is because I find that we're talking about this. We're just walking down the street in New York, and we're talking about the perception of hunger as a really interesting topic, because hunger is an idea which is fear-based. We were originally fearful of hunger when we were hunter-gatherers, because that meant...
You're talking about food.
Yeah, literal hunger. Sorry,
not as desire.
Not as desire,
Yeah.
hunger as in food itself. Because we sit there and we realise that at that time, if we were hungry, if our stomach's rumbling, we're going, where's our next meal coming from? I have to go out and get that meal. I have to try and hunt, gather, whatever it is, to find something to eat. Now today, our oversupply of places to eat and drink and do whatever means that the idea of hunger should not be feared. It should be played with and perceived in a way of like, hey, if I'm hungry, that means that obviously if that comes down to weight loss goals and all this kind of stuff, but if we break it down to just the perception of an idea, it's not something to be feared, nor something to be, angered about, and then would that change the way that people affect their dieting, or not, I like to even call it a diet, but
Their lifestyle.
Their lifestyle.
Well, if there was some appreciation for what these desires actually are in an evolutionary sense, so therefore understood, maybe we're on the road to helping a few of these issues. We live in a world now where more people die from eating too much than too little.
Good thought.
I I had something else that you said about. That's really frustrating.
But it's good that we started with more words that the men and women thing, because we're definitely, as 4 gentlemen in this room, talking way more than like 15,000 words.
Oh,
we
surpassed
smashed
that for sure.
Yeah.
But every single
It's a
desire
miracle that you've
attribute-
kept me quiet, by the way.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
That was my goal. Go, I Rex. love firsts. I love it.
every single thing like that, like hunger, has an evolutionary base. You know, you pick any feeling, desire, emotion, we can credit to evolution if you're a Darwinist, like I am. There may be a few religious people who'd have a different idea of where this stuff derives from.
And that's a greater debate.
Yeah, it's a great debate. That was last night.
Yeah.
But I think some knowledge and some understanding of that is really helpful in combating what we're talking about. But also, we now live in a generation where said evolutionary trait is a hindrance because of the availability of food in this case. So that identification of said trait, that's why it's important, because then we can say like, well, but nowadays there's an abundance of food, so we have to deliberately be mindful of that trait
and of our consumption. But that comes back to
Yeah.
education, right? We need to be educated as younger people. These are on these ideas, and try and have more understanding as our society and our infrastructures evolve. Our understanding of our what's the word I'm looking for? Our I can't even think of the word, but what our body tells us. How do we recognise that and make a conscious instinct? Was the word I was looking for. A conscious decision rather than a subconscious decision on I'm hungry. Oh, I need to find food. Let's go with I'm hungry. What does that mean? Oh, I just ate 2 hours ago. Does that mean I need to eat again or not? Like, where's the...
Well, but it's also being in tune enough to go, because there's obviously a lot of things we're not... Like, they talk about how hunger could just be thirst and you're just severely dehydrated and you need to be more thoughtful about those things. But also, we did the fasting stuff. We did those... and having... That changes your relationship to...
Dom and I have done a few since, and I've been meaning to... sort of track back and talk about our one. Do you remember how much it affected your sleep?
It didn't affect my sleep at all.
Right.
Because I like, since then anyway, I've done fasts, even after Christmas, the day after Christmas, because I've kind of implemented a thing where I just eat when I'm hungry. But I also don't eat, I try not to eat outside the hours of light, but that's another scenario.
No, we've spoken about that before too, as well.
Yeah.
It's a hormonal thing, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I think for my sleep anyway, if I eat late, because I liken the whole thing of, if I asked you to just continually run, like literally run all day, every day, at some point you're going to get fatigued, tired, and injured. So if I was to consistently consume food, you're asking your digestive system to just keep working and working and working and working. At some point, something's going to... It doesn't have any time to regenerate and recover. And so they talk about how your digestive system needs time to cleanse and recover. And
Well, Volta Longo and Rhonda Patrick are pretty much pushing this hypothesis at the moment that in the same way when you cut your skin and that heals from the outside, it seems as though that could be said for our inside. And in that, if it is full-time in digestion mode, it doesn't have enough time or energy to rejuvenate.
That's my...
And I mean, that fast we did, was that a 3 or a 5 day one?
I think it was 3.
Well, that, and along with the 24-hour ones that I've done and intermittent fasting, I've never recovered better from just basic training. I'm not as sore because my body has a couple of more minutes to fix itself. That's super interesting.
Well, if you also look at it's also not putting the energy towards digestion. It's because it's been able to do that and focus on that regeneration.
Cell repair.
And then it can also cell repair your body more efficiently because it's not doing two jobs.
Yes.
Or more than two, but let's just break it to those two.
Before I forget, the sleep thing. Dr. Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist who specialises in sleep, he's got a book, Why Sleep Matters, and he was on Joe Rogan.
I've been wanting to read that for ages.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. Someone else told me to read that the other day.
Well, one of his, he was somewhat against fasting, extreme fasting, because your body's telling yourself, the old hunter-gatherer DNA is saying, we've got to keep hunting, don't sleep.
He said, is he saying extreme fasting is, because
I think
it's
he means
all
a
on
few
perception
days.
again, because, there are people who fast for 25 days, and then there's people who fast for 14 hours, and they're like, oh my god, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, but I wonder those people that fast for 25 days, at least if the first few days they sleep poorly. So I don't recall, it might have been the one we did. Maybe that was what I was thinking of, that I couldn't recall how I slept.
I remember you walking in the second day because I did not do the fast.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I was, but you also have to remember, I was probably the skinniest I've been in like 7 years. Or whatever. So I was like, the
You were banned from the fast.
excuses are telling.
Yeah. But at least the
what was
last
quote I
couple.
told you today about excuses? I have to quote, this is a Damien Stenmark quote. I'll pop a stem.
You're going to have to repeat.
Yeah, he said, and this was a banger when he said it the other day on the phone. He goes, the only thing failure has to offer is excuses. And I was like, respect, big fella. Like, that goes in the book.
That's good.
What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that I don't know whether it's the fact that I now have this information, that fasting could potentially cause some issues while sleeping, or if it was the fast that made me, I was 3 hours a night maybe for the last couple of 3-day fasts. The last one I did was meant to be a 5-day fast, and on day 3 I pulled out just because of the sleep issue. I wasn't hungry at all.
See, I ate the other night really late, and I slept the worst I've slept in probably 4 or 5 years.
As in, your body was just saying, what's this?
It's going, why are you making me digest while I should be focusing on regeneration? Like, I need to wind down. And so it was really interesting because even jet lag hasn't made me have such a crap sleep.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think, for me personally, I think your body should be doing very little when you try and sleep, because it should be focusing on regeneration of cells.
Considering, as you say, that sleep is the greatest detox of all time.
Oh, that's what studies show, that it's like 10 times better than any other detox. So, because it is just literally your body doing its thing. It was made to do.
Yeah. I think the data to do with the attempt of weight loss and lack of sleep is
Speaks for itself.
yeah, it's people after months of training sort of go, well, why aren't I losing any weight? And there's been plenty of studies that show it's because you're not sleeping, champ.
But I think that then all ties into hormonal response and how your body's actually dealing with hormones.
Yeah.
I think, like, I was speaking to someone and they're just saying how important that is, and then relative to the microbiome, how sleep has such an effect on that as well. So
You mentioned the fitness industry before, and that's when I paused for about 4 minutes trying to think about what to say, and we were talking about it within that validation conversation. Just reminded me, the fitness industry has a lot to answer for, I think.
Yeah.
Especially fitness people / influencers. I follow a few. Some are friends, so they're hanging on for dear life. In the
Us included in the follow comment.
Yeah. No, you guys are safe for now.
Oh, no.
No, you're good, mate. You're good. You're safe.
Some of those Insta stories are pretty rare. Yeah.
What amazes me is the attempt at trickery within the posts, like, people are buying likes and all this, all this fakeness, and that's not what I'm about. By the way, buy this. I'm having Chobani protein yogurt for da-da-da. who do these people think they're fooling? And the based on the commercial interests in being someone who has a following, there's so much poor advice because there's obviously an incentive to lie or at least tell half truths when it comes to nutrition and training.
What comes down to the conversation I had at a dinner last night was the idea that now everyone has a podium to give an opinion, and like before, thousands of years ago, there was always prophets and always people who give an opinion, but they were ones that were pushed up to the, I guess the cream in an idea, rise to the top, whatever it is. And today, now anyone that has an opinion or any valid opinion that is not backed up by science, and that's the big issue, is that a lot of people like yourself that have been to university, not me, I went for a little bit, but didn't they're like, get out of here. Does 6 weeks count as going to university? Maybe. Introductory courses.
You got in.
I got in, let's go with that. But no, it's now to the point where evidence almost is the same as opinion, which is not correct, which I don't believe. Like, as you said before, is it peer review to one of the, the speaking? And I guess we could review that and change that to that anyway. No, but my point being is that now things aren't backed up, and because we live in such fast media, like there's no, like people can't take the time and go, okay, this is my opinion. Now let's spend 2 years backing it up, and then I'll post this.
But also these people are claiming to be experts.
Yeah.
And I think they need to come more from this is what I have found has worked. But there is no scientific evidence to suggest what I'm saying.
I'm never. I try to not be one of those people that would tell others to stay in their lane. But young Jamie and I were having this chat the other day about certain PTs who it's very easy to become a PT. I think for someone who
to give nutritional advice,
well, that's where I'm going.
Well, I was a PT for 12 years, and when I first became a PT when I was 18, it took me a year and a half to get my PT, personal training certificate. Now I can get it in 6 weeks.
See, this is the issue.
These are people that are in charge.
So I spent that time.
Well-being.
And the age thing is not a factor. Like it's just because if I'm a 14 to 16-year-old guy or girl, I can go and get PT, and that's fine. That's in my growth phase. I could be a 60-year-old bloke with neck issues, or female with bad back issues, and that person, that 18-year-old that has got their 6-week course, could train me.
Yeah.
Now it takes, I think I could be wrong, but it takes 8 years to become a doctor. They deal with it's more invasive. Yes, it's more to do with health, but the physical.
A GP, you mean, like a general practitioner?
Yeah, like it's you. Like as a personal trainer, you're giving someone. It depends what your philosophy is, but you can give someone a very large amount of weight, put them under strain in bad technique and it's the best of your knowledge.
You could be that person that's stopping that individual from going to the doctor.
Yeah.
With the real information.
With the 8 years, and even
this changing of lanes without the knowledge to do so, it offends me. Again, a few mates that are PTs. I'm sure they're great PTs. But you know a lot about training. But don't start bagging the ketogenic diet or without
being well read
without a scientific reason, or start talking about I don't know. Give me another example. You know what I'm saying? Like where they.
I know exactly what you're saying, because the other thing I ended up doing was just trying the things. Like I would end up when we did that fast, I actually bought the ketones tester.
Yeah, I know. You nearly ripped my finger off.
Yeah. Well, it needs some blood, mate.
What was the issue again? You were sticking it in the wrong spot, and then Dom came over and stabbed me.
Yeah.
That sounded so wrong in that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. I was
stuck it in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And then Dom had to what?
Filthy mind.
Yeah. But mine in the gutter. Like I played with that because I wanted to understand it. I just think you can't really have an opinion unless you've read about it and been a part of it. I think that's the problem because everyone's bagging this stuff.
And what system of these or diets or training programs works for everyone? You shouldn't have a firm philosophy as a trainer or a nutritionist.
There's no catch-all, and this is I'm a big believer in, and this is in motivation as
Not
well.
philosophy, I should correct that. Not a philosophy. You can have a roundabout, overarching theme, but
like we can all agree that eating like good quality meat and vegetables. I mean, unless you're vegan and that's your belief, but or vegetarian, but regardless, we can all agree if you ate good quality food, no processed, etc., you will be better off than eating McDonald's.
Which is a good
you can assume that because you seem to be better, but like some people are amazing on like just eating heaps of greens and this, and then some people thrive on masses of meat and not as much. It's like there's so many different things.
The calories are the only thing that matters. Obsession at the moment fascinates me. I think it might have been Dom telling me a story of someone he knows who had put up a post of a certain amount of teaspoons of coconut oil and the same amount of Mars bars or something like that calories. And the post from a PT was, I know which one I'd prefer.
But we're getting into bioavailability and all that sort of stuff,
which is all sorts of things.
Which is so intense. And then
calories is almost irrelevant in that situation, totally. Depending on that person's goals. Or
look, at this is a time, because I actually want to talk about this, the goals thing, and then it ties into everything. This obsession with being so lean, everyone being ripped and chiseled and all that sort of stuff, it's starting to, like, people actually think that is what health is. But you don't have to, like, just because you have a six-pack or you've got, everyone can see your muscles or whatever, doesn't make you healthy. Because you can be really unhealthy and still look what everyone's ideal of, beautiful or healthy is, and your insides can be destroyed. And
like, how long can you last? Like, that's the point, is that we're then getting into a longevity and what your end goal is topic there. That's do you want to be a healthy person? And then aesthetic is up to your own opinion. And then that comes down to, then maybe calories comes into it. Then that comes back to the hunger conversation and all that kind of stuff. But
many would argue also that living well also means eating a bit of shit every now and then.
Well, there's balance. There's a scientific thing of hormesis, like a little bit of a bad thing is good for you sort of scenario. But then there's also the mental side of it, that it is fun to just have a bit of a splurge and a bit of fun with people and eat whatever you want and indulge in kind of some of the amazing things that being human and life has to offer. Because we are creative and we can make things that are stimulating and cool and interesting.
Like last night, go out to dinner, friends, everyone's like, let's go eat ice cream. So I ate a litre of Messina. Look, it's not, that may not be balanced, but I enjoyed myself. I didn't.
Is that the Tony Robbins idea of balance?
Well, yeah, Tony kind of says, he talks about balance as in.
Yeah, I know, Anthony.
It's like a sliding scale. It's not an equation in which I spend 25% with my family and this, or it's sometimes I spend 90% on my work and 10% on everything else, or sometimes I spend whatever, and so. I felt like a leader, so I ate a litre.
So like, it's 100% of...
That's easy done at Messina.
Yeah, it is. And do you know what's interesting is everyone looks at you like... When I said to the guy, no, I don't need a lid for the take-home, thanks. And he goes, what do you mean? You're going to eat it here? I go, yeah, just can I... He goes, you want multiple spoons? I go, no, this is for me. And he goes, no, it's not. I go, you can come outside and watch me eat it while we stand
Do you want my money?
Yeah, do you want my money or not? Like, a friend of ours runs a magazine called Shut Up and Take My Money. And that's essentially what I was saying. But I was never telling him to shut up, because we had a great conversation about macadamia crunch. It was a great photo.
I've got an important question.
Yeah.
Which watch do you turn to for the time?
Okay, so good question.
Given you're wearing an Apple Watch and a Rolex, I assume.
This sits on emotional time.
Don't ignore me. Confirm. Is that a Rolex?
It's at the border in Thailand. No, it is a Rolex. It tells the time and the date.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
But the actual question was, what do you turn to?
So it's a really good question and
you
embarrassing answer.
Time,
no, well, you know what? This is what I used to say to my teachers. They'd say, "What is that?" You weren't allowed phones at school. Geez, that makes me sound ancient, doesn't it? But I'd say, oh, it's just it's a timepiece, and they go, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, it's a time. I just use it for time. Anyway, so back to that. This is a health device.
Jordan's not going into comedy.
I'm going into comedy, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I turn to the Apple Watch because it's faster, and
You also don't consistently wear your Rolex.
I don't,
so
and
it
so
doesn't
all the
always
time.
read the
You
correct
do.
time. Actually, I
wear it a lot less.
have been wearing. Well, I was doing the double watch thing for a while, and then I was actually finding, like when I flew back to Australia, I was like, I just want to disconnect. So I just kind of went on a little bit of a, like,
No tech.
no tech, no nothing. Was just kind of rocking around in board shorts, swimming, and trying to get out of it. Because it is that thing of trying to detox from all this time on emails or Instagram, or because at the end of the day, I would probably like to spend less time on Instagram, but it also
It's part of the job.
well, yeah, it's part of the job, and also you build this community, and that is one of the cool parts about it. Is we have built a community of people we always talk to and
Yeah.
who are amazing.
So you guys are
supporters
quite
of ours.
interactive.
Yeah,
Massively interactive.
we spend
because it's,
an hour probably a day each writing back to DMs and stuff. Probably about 500 to 800 DMs a day.
and that actually yes, it's good, but it actually also comes out of respect for the people who have
Support
taken
us.
the time to write to us. 'Cause,
What's the general message there? Are
there's
they?
a lot of love. There's so much love, and which is it's kind of overwhelming because you don't really, like, you haven't met these people, but they've connected with you, and so that's quite cool. And I think that's a real positive about social media. But I do think
Is there some illness in there though, obsessing over you guys?
I think there might be, and look, that is.
I don't know about obsession over. I guess.
Oh, George, I think that I perceive sometimes there might be, and I think that could be the lack of actual human connection that a lot of people don't have. Like there is
Through
sometimes
social
people
media.
saying to us, "Oh, like they'll ask us how we are, and we're like, oh, great, we're doing blah blah blah," and like, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm quite lonely, and I think because everyone they interact with is through the phone, there's no like tangible connection in like.
It's very
We're right
obvious.
here,
Yeah.
and we can read, like we talked about at the start, all the other different things, the body language, the tone, all that sort of stuff. But just through a typing, it's literally what is there.
Yeah, that's one of those evolutionary traits that's not being satisfied.
Well, it's very.
Face to face, genuine communication and connection.
And
Even
even
if we look at-
FaceTime can't really substitute that. You know what I mean?
Well, even if we look at, think about this as an idea of trust within the human race. So, say in our parents' era, you used to have to call someone up on the phone, say, "Hi, Mrs. Blah blah blah. Can I speak to Frederick or Ernesto?" Oh, and let's go to Ernesto. Hi, Ernesto. Do you want to meet on Tuesday for kick the football or whatever? And he goes, yeah, sure. Let's do Tuesday. And so
At
you
2.
trust at 2
Yeah.
that he'll turn up at Paddington Oval and you'll catch up.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't turn up, he doesn't turn up.
I have a
Today-
few mates now that will send 5, like, are we still on?
Mm.
No, you only did it once. Are we still on? Like, where are you? Messages like just confirming that this is going to happen. This is genuine anxiety. Like,
How have we become so flaky that people have to check? Like,
Well,
why are we so at this point? Why can't we trust someone when they say it, when their word is their word, that they'll turn up and not speak to them in that time and make sure that, like, I get it. We live in the society where we have
Always
access to each
connected.
other and we can always be connected, but I think our word should be our word, and we stick to that. I think social media and the ability to connect with anyone at any point makes us more flaky than ever.
Like we were saying, I had this conversation this morning, and we were talking about, with some friends, we were talking about, we have some friends who will be like, oh, Friday night, let's go and have dinner. And then we're all confirmed, but then they'll go, oh, I'm too busy. Everyone is busy. Everyone's got stuff going on.
Yeah.
So let's not use that excuse. It's you're too tired, and I'd much prefer them to call me and say, hey, I'm really tired, or I just don't want to come. Don't make up excuses, but the word thing, I think it's really important. Either
Perhaps
say
what
you're going to
you're,
do it or just don't do it.
Yeah, perhaps what you're pointing to, and I don't know, this is just a hypothesis. Perhaps it's too easy to pull out of plans.
It is way
as
too
well.
easy. There's no accountability anymore.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
people just kind of go like, oh, I'm just...
The effort it would have taken to pull out of a set date if you had to write a letter.
Back in the day. Can you
Um,
imagine?
Yeah. You
That
just
would
commit.
Yeah.
Imagine leaving Ernesto there at that park. Poor Ernesto.
I'm really
Yeah.
worried about Ernesto.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You know, and he wanted to kick the football. He really did. He was going to work on his left foot, snaps.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that a thing in something?
No, I'm talking about footballers in AFL, mate.
Oh, right.
We're in the country.
You're a model now.
Yeah,
I
come
feel
on.
stereotyped Ernesto as a soccer
Ernesto
player.
does not have to play soccer. He doesn't. He could easily come from this, European background with a name like Ernesto, but
South American.
whatever.
Yeah.
Could be anything. Look, he could be Ernesto from...
He's probably a fisherman, actually.
Yeah.
Probably. And you know what? Favourite book? Old Man on the Sea, I reckon.
Is it?
Probably.
Yeah, do you
I
have a
wish it was
favourite
mine.
book?
Yeah.
Actually, another question.
Mm.
What's the first book you ever read? Do you remember it?
I'm pretty sure it was Tiger Woods' biography.
Yeah, right.
Great titles for that book.
I hated reading until just a couple of years ago. I didn't even read like the books required to pass, which I did, advanced English.
You're sitting with two other
You're
people.
sitting with two guys who are dyslexic. So
Yeah.
reading at school was like a nightmare.
Well,
They would do the thing of, in class, do you want to read out loud? And I'm kind of going, no.
people that have known me for many years just can't understand what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but that truly comes back, and I was speaking to my girlfriend about this last night, about I'd love to one day when I feel like I have the proper voice to share the message is, and I have a bit of belief that school systems need to change to adapt to multiple kids. I just don't think that as a kid of dyslexia and a kid that spent years and years feeling like they were dumb, feeling as though that they weren't intelligent compared to the rest of their, student body, to then one day have been told by other people.
I'm not ignoring you. I want to show
that's
you
right.
a quote or a tweet.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
No, there's
That's another perception I need to talk to you about.
Yeah.
But yeah, to feel as though that you were stupid at some point, and then have later people not only get rid of that idea, but tell you, have some kind of intelligence is a weird feeling. And I'd love to make, a replica or someone like me in 30 years' time not have to go through school feeling like they're an idiot or feeling as though that there's anything to fear. Take the opportunities, read in class, don't be afraid of it, don't make the people that make you feel by bullying you in any way feel bad, because every opportunity is a learning experience. And I was lucky that I had a great support network and someone else that was going through it at the same time. It didn't affect me as much as it did, but truly want to spread the word on that it's just because a group of intelligent people have said this is the way that most people should learn doesn't mean that you will, because
Yeah.
I've learned a lot more through experience in school of hard knocks than I ever have before.
Well, you guys and I went through school around about the same time, and I don't need to read it. I can just explain. Steven Pinker, maybe the best social psychologist in the world, is really harping on this point at the moment of this generation, our generation, being told they have ADD or ADHD just because they're maybe a bit naughty, a bit too much energy within the classroom. And now new evidence has come out that he's been constantly tweeting and retweeting to suggest that it's just not the right environment for those individuals. Geez, that sounds way better now that I'm there, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds much better.
I've been
It's good though. It's really
the whole podcast. That's going to sound terrible.
no, that's right. But I have to agree, and I also think ADD and ADHD, all that's such a negative connotation, and it shouldn't be based around because the kid has too much energy or lacks concentration.
Well, I wear it like a medal now.
Mm.
My mum and I have a laugh. I just had too much energy for school.
Well, I also just was always interested in 1,000 things, and there's so many different, especially in today, there's so many different stimuli, and this whole thing of, like, you were getting the quote on your phone, right? You can still listen to what we're saying, but you were so engaged you actually wanted to share. Like, I've got in trouble before and I've been on my phone because I was like wanting to add value, but people are going,
How
"Oh,
are
you're not
you?
listening."
Mm.
And I get we should be connected to each other, but if you're adding value, like which you were doing, I don't know. For me, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think because your brain also works a million miles a minute. I find mine does, and I'm pretty sure yours. Is
Sorry,
the same.
Einstein.
No, but I want to say as well on the learning thing, I'm taking learning into working. That's a different one as well. Like working environments are changing rapidly. Hot desking, all that kind of stuff is really changing the way people kind of perceive the 9 to 5. And I kind of went down the whole road of, hey, I work in one of the most unscheduled, lack of routine industries in the world, where you could be in one country and then be in the next and doing something else, and then the next minute you get a phone call and you're going somewhere else, and then you're not doing anything for a little bit. And I tried to fit into the idea of a 9 to 5, and it just didn't work. Especially because then that comes from the basic idea of schooling, same idea, same structured. And I love
Social
structure.
construct.
Yeah, but and then I realised that one, yes, hard work, and you've got to try and stay focused on things. But the way I work now is I'm very like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If I'm not into that, I'm going to do something and still work. But, you know, it's like my dad always said, touch a piece of paper once. But yeah, touch the piece of paper once and affect it. You don't have to finish it. And I think it's a different idea on trying to, it's like progress equals confidence, confidence equals results. So in that idea, because I was so stuck on, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to read this contract, I'm going to make sure I finish it. And it wasn't working for me. So to be able to read the contract, okay, I'm going to sit, I'm going to bookmark that for a second, I'm going to come back, I'm going to do something that stimulates me again, and then almost regenerate that idea. I just think that we need to, you know, change how we think about our brains, as you're saying, ADHD, dyslexia, all this kind of stuff shouldn't be negatively connotation.
Different shouldn't be labelled with disease.
Agreed. Totally. It's a great. I love
Drop
it.
the mic.
No, I like it. Yeah. The other thing with
Nice
your point of like the progress thing is like we were talking before, and I said I said it. My little brother actually gave me this.
Here we go again, the smart one.
Yeah. He set this challenge: read
Stanford
25 pages of a book a day. And I know he got it from somewhere, but I don't know where. And I was like, I'm going to get on that. So I started that this year, and I think the first day I was like, yep, nailed 25 pages. Then the next day I did like 4 because I went to bed early, but I felt so much better that I at least read 4.
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep. And then there was one day that I missed, and I was like, crap, I should have just at least read 1 page. Because there was the progression idea of, and then there were days that I would like, I'll just read 1 page, and I ended up reading like 30 pages.
A love for reading can expose how much nothingness we do, how much
100%.
waiting we do,
Yeah.
how much hanging around. If you carry a book with you everywhere,
Mm.
which I usually do, you realise even when you're waiting for just a minute, a phone call or anything, you can bang a page out.
Yeah.
So what it does is exposes you.
Mm.
But it also exposes
because-
the idea of time, how time has now become... Time is just a perception unless you're watching a clock. Like it truly, like there is a ticking, it's consistently ticking at the same rate. But at the same time, we can't sit there and go, oh yeah, that was a minute without looking at a clock. So if
You have a rough idea.
You have a rough idea.
There's been a lot of minutes. But
But the same idea, like we could wait for 5 minutes and we can get through 10 pages. Or what? Definitely not at my speed. That's probably half a page. But I think my idea being is that we waste so much time because the iPhone, we can sit on an iPhone for half an hour and that could have felt like 5 minutes. Whereas in a book, and we're actually gaining something from a book. Whereas the iPhone, yes, we can read through the iPhone and do all that kind of stuff. I just think that the vacuum within versatility of focus, like focus can be put in so many different directions on an iPhone. On a book, there's only one place to focus.
Yeah,
It's easy as well. That's why you lose time. There's something to do with the difficulty in reading and the taking in of what content you're coming across. That is why it's so valuable, and why you know, when you're just flicking through social media and you just go, oh my God, I just wasted half an hour here, and you gain nothing. Did that make sense?
Well, it does, because we can literally, with an iPhone, look at a whole bunch of different stimuli, and if we don't like it, we just get rid of it. But if you're reading a book and you're kind of going, I'm either loving this or I'm hating this, either way, but you're going, I'm reading it, you are stuck with the same one thing of like, I'm reading this book, not I hate that picture, love that picture, oh, what's happening here? Oh, I'll go to a different app, I'll go to this, I'll do this, and then all of a sudden you go down a wormhole. And the other thing I find about the iPhone, and it's like how many people go, when you feel uncomfortable in a scenario or anything, like looking at, and I did this, I watched my own behaviour. If I felt uncomfortable or worried or whatever, I just go bang, phone, and you can go into another world because you don't have to deal with your problem. You can just observe all the other stimuli and forget about what's going on. And so I set a challenge last year.
It's probably not as easy to do with a book, right?
No,
just stand there ignoring people with,
with a book. Exactly. But I found that a really valuable challenge as well, just to, every time I was like, oh, I'm going to pull my phone out for no reason, it comes back to the validation, the thing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Why am I pulling out my phone, and what in me made me want to pull the phone out?
There's a lot to be gained in social awkwardness.
Oh, yeah. So much.
Yeah.
Silence is one of the greatest learning curves of all time. To enforce silence and control silence is true power, because anyone who can control silence, that is like, that is hard. That is the true sense of domination within a circumstance.
And it's interesting seeing who is really uncomfortable with silence.
Yeah.
And becoming comfortable, becoming comfortable with like your own sort of silence. I think if you have a lot of turmoil, you probably don't really sit with yourself a lot because you probably don't want to deal with it.
I think it's two-pronged. Like it's if they're not hearing words, they're not getting that validation we keep referring to of your attention, and if they're not,
and they don't have a reference point on you because you're giving them nothing verbally anyway.
Yeah.
So they don't exactly have the insight straight into your brain, which again it comes back to, can you validate yourself and just be happy with where you are, rather than waiting for them to give you something that you can then manipulate to be whatever.
I used to quite consciously, like in any scenario when you come across new people, think of this being comfortable in silence type phenomena that we're talking about. And maybe now I just do it subconsciously, but I think it's very important to me. I can't stand people that just
yabber on,
talk for talking's sake.
Yeah. If you don't have anything valuable to say, don't talk to me.
Seriously.
That's facts. It's like our much superior younger brother, Louis.
Keep hearing about him.
He is he just does not talk if there's nothing to be said.
Yeah, CBF.
Literally. He is so happy to sit in silence. And him and I recently were going to training early in the morning. Neither of us had anything to say. And it was like a 40-minute car ride. Just didn't say anything. And we're both super happy about it.
I want to come back to an idea that we're thinking about when we're talking about the flicking of the phone and just have a think about this for a second. How hard is it to pick a movie on Netflix, and why is that? I have an understanding, but just think about it for a second. It's like,
I think it's a quite well researched phenomena of the too many options phenomena.
But yeah, it comes back to the idea of like being happy with what's in front of us. So it's like, is that better over there? Who's better? It's like the same idea.
Could I have watched a better movie? Did I waste my such valuable time on this?
Yeah.
You know, there were 2 rom-coms here. Oh no, I picked the crap one. They're rom-coms, guys. Or like,
no, but like,
well, you're touching on the idea that we more than ever value our time, right?
Yeah, but at the same time,
when time
we value our time, but like we could use our time in a better way. But I think it's a really interesting idea that I do this all the time. I sit there on Netflix and go, oh, what about that? What about that? What about that? What about? Just choose one, and enjoy that for what it is. Back in the day, flicking through Foxtel, or you went to what was it called, Video Easy, and you picked that movie, and you were stuck with you were stuck with Rush Hour 1.
By the way, aren't they hanging on
Maybe.
for dear life with these DVD video vending machines?
Oh,
Grow up,
I know.
get Netflix.
If I'm going to if I'm going to a vending machine, I'm looking for crispy M&Ms or burger rings.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going for. Or water, but I wanted to do a little bit something more entertaining than water.
something more entertaining than a disc. Do you guys have a DVD player?
I have a PlayStation.
PlayStation works as a DVD.
So it could work, right?
I
Yeah,
was gonna
but I feel like CDs, they're mostly just good frisbees. That's about it.
What about tapes? What do you think tapes are?
I don't have an answer for that one. They're environmentally not friendly. That's what they are.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
So what's going on at the moment? Before we wrap up, what projects are you guys working on? When are you back to the States?
We are back to the States on the 30th of January.
31st, somewhere
Somewhere
around
around
tossing up the dates depending on jobs and
Do,
stuff.
do you say that's where you live now? Is that
Yes,
is that-
New York is home. However, no, it's not.
I'm a
It's where
resident of
we
the
live.
sky.
It's where we live, but Australia's always home and Sydney's always home.
Home's where the
Careful.
heart is,
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Now you're
I'm
making
not
sense.
so much of that, but I'm more
Speaking
of
my language.
I'm more just I love this place. It's so like
We
New
are,
York is freezing right now. Like, why would you want to leave Sydney where it's like 40 degrees and Jordan doesn't know it? And
my legs don't. My
we're
top
hanging out at the
does.
beach. It's an incredible lifestyle we have here, so it's hard to kind of go back. But at the same time, I'm pretty excited because there's a lot of cool things going on back in New York. We're doing this project actually called Cheap Meals.
Yeah.
Are you happy to talk about it?
Sure, I'll talk about it. We watched that great program. I sounded like, we looked through the TV guide and looked at the middle
You
of
got
the
it from
program.
Video Easy.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
get it from Video Easy. It's
Yeah.
a great program on Sunday nights with Richard. What was his name? So we came up with the concept. So we originally watched comedians in cars getting coffee. Having coffee. One of those.
Getting coffee.
Getting coffee.
Basically, they consume coffee.
And they consume coffee while they banter.
It's a great program.
Great program. And we and so we kind of came up with a similar idea being based around the idea of a cheat meal. We've always been interested in the theory of, as we talked about hormesis before, but just the way it brings people together.
And just be specific as well, because every time we say cheap meal, some people think we say cheap meal,
It's cheat.
not cheat. And cheap meal obviously being Sunday splurges, like, although, what day was it yesterday? Thursday.
Yes, that was Thursday.
Yeah, so Jordan had his
Swapping
cheap
a
meal with
Thursday.
ice cream.
But that idea of bringing people together over a splurge or a binge. And so we want to evoke conversation through the vehicle of a cheat meal. And so...
Especially with a lot of, people in our industry or in the entertainment industry who are so shiny. You know what I mean? Like, everyone doesn't see them splurge on ice cream or, eat.
Being normal.
Yeah, being just human. And so we're,
humanizing.
exactly. And also just kind of, breaking those barriers of like, holy crap, they like eating this whatever ice cream as well. And it's kind of funny because, we all have those weird things like, I don't know, I like putting M&Ms in my popcorn. Like,
What is
could
that
be one of
thing?
those things. It could be any of that sort of stuff that just
Relates.
holy crap, I do that too.
And so, look, with the end goal of maybe let's call it episode 20 of season 1 is The Rock. Let's challenge him to eat his cheat meal or something like that. It just, for us, so that's been super
I want
exciting.
to challenge him to see if I can eat more than The Rock.
Yeah.
You don't have it in you.
Mate, you have seen me eat. I can
He is a
go-
bottomless pit.
I
I've
can
seen
go-
you eat, yeah.
I can go with the best of them.
Actually, you just reminded me. Where did we go? Spice Alley, and you ordered the full fish
Yeah,
twice.
that's right.
You just had 2 fish.
Yeah. And the other,
He is a bottomless pit, like seriously. Like one can consume food.
the other
Like,
week,
seriously.
my friend was like, you always talk about getting pizza with me. Let's get pizza. And I was like, okay, let's get pizza.
How many?
So I had 3 whole pizzas, and then I was like,
Large.
yeah, the full size. One of
Secretly,
them was a
Like, I'm
Nutella
very
pizza as well.
Wow.
It was so good. And then I proceeded to get a litre of ice cream. So
Oh, I can't eat that much. Like seriously, like I can do my liter of ice cream. I could probably do 2 pizzas, maybe one, maybe 2, definitely 1. But anything more than that, it's volcano.
I can confirm I did not sleep very well.
No, you wouldn't have been well at all.
No,
I
that's
felt
the opposite to fasting.
I felt fine,
It's
but
fasting.
Yeah.
I definitely I found that valuable to actually have the comparison of eating really clean and also eating terrible, well, not terribly, but not the way I seem to be.
To answer the original question as well, other stuff we're doing. We have the cheat meals thing. We're working on something in the light space, in the blue light space, which is really interesting. It's something that we feel very passionate about, something we've practiced for a long time.
You're going to have to expand on what that means, Jordan.
Zachary, this is definitely your field of expertise.
Just in this day and age with all the technology we have, like there is no life on this planet without the relationship to the sun. So light is actually a really valuable part of health. And so basically we are all abusing light. If you think about it, we're all at night consuming blue light. The only natural source of blue light is the sun. And we're getting pretty much, specifically because we use now LEDs as the predominant source of the light, we're getting this short wavelength light that what it does is it has a hormonal response in the body that keeps us awake. And so when we didn't have light, we would have sort of rose and fall like with sleep with the sun, because it was a stimuli to either keep us awake, or when it was gone, we'd start to feel tired and go to sleep. So because we're abusing it with the phones, the lights, the computers, all that sort of stuff, our bodies aren't being correctly allowed to actually wind down and get the correct messaging hormonally. So it's definitely going to be a much broader issue as we start to learn more about how much we've, I guess, abused light.
Yeah.
So I think we're working in combating that situation. We're not saying use your devices less. We're saying let's figure out a way to work with technology and mitigate the damage that we receive from these devices.
They're linking like this, I guess, abuse of blue light to eye problems like macular degeneration, like early studies, but then also massive hormonal issues because of sleep issues and all that, and because of the over-the-top stimulus from it. I don't know, me personally, because I'm not a scientist, I would say I've definitely found it was a big change for me in my sleep patterns by reducing my consumption of blue light. There are some peer-reviewed studies as well, so that's good.
Send them through.
So we'll send them through, but I guess
one from
another
Harvard the other day, which was cool.
Yeah, but a person I think is very valuable to even just listen to. There's a guy named Jack Cruz who's he's a doctor in America. He talks at great length and with great scientific backing and knowledge about the effects and the importance of light. Because it also goes the other way with a lot of people not getting enough natural light and sun and vitamin D deficiency, etc.
So then moving on to the next thing we're kind of doing, we're kind of looking at something in the fitness space on trying to, off the back of this kind of thing, is trying to facilitate lifestyle change and create a system-based philosophy that people could subscribe to be able to be able to create a lifestyle that then they can be drawn upon a sustainable thing for people to get healthier, basically, because currently we're looking at a lot of people's who are producing things to help people, being a 30-day challenge or a whatever, and yeah, great, you were amazing for 30 days, but then what happens on the 31st, 32nd, like a lot of people fall off the wagon. So we've always found with our own health and with the most efficient stuff is like what is actually a sustainable life model, because like diet, it has such a negative connotation, and I think it is negative because it's like you're just choosing this amount of time for you to change. In actual fact, you want to have a better quality of life, and your life is a long time. It's not 30 days. So there's that, and then we're doing more in the content space we kind of spoke about before with brands and consistently creating content for these brands, and trying to do our bit to help them achieve their their budgetary goals and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And we love doing that. Still doing the modelling stuff and a bit more in TV and film as well. More in TV and film.
Yeah,
So 2019 for us is pretty exciting, but nothing's done till it's actually launched and things are either helping people or affecting sales, doing anything like that. So we just
you definitely learn. We learn in this industry. Like in sport, you learn, I might make this team, whatever, and it's pretty cut and dry. And when we come into the industry, someone might, like your agent might say, oh, you're on hold for this really big job with X brand. And you find out, oh, it's this money and it's blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, it's like 4 days out and they're like, oh, it's looking good. And then, no, you didn't get it. And like, I guess for us, it was always like, it was a learning curve of like, it's not done until you're literally on set. Like, you shot the thing and the ad's out and you'll get paid.
Truly. Like, I remember a quick story. Last year, we were going to do a job in London, and I'd already had tickets to London to go on holidays. I cancelled those tickets.
Because the job popped up like
2 weeks before or something, or maybe a week before.
It was a week before.
So cancelled all my tickets because the client was going to pay 1 day before I meant to leave. Sorry, just didn't work out. Contractual disagreements, so we're not going to go ahead. I'm out thousands of dollars, cancel accommodation, all this stuff, and it's truly like you just go, how does this happen? But nature of the beast, and you truly have to understand.
And it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, it's a funny sort of part of our scenario where you can't like. It's not done till it's done.
Yeah, you truly, and it's like, but that's not to be a negative thing. It's just a thing of understanding that
Perception, it could be exciting.
Yeah. Stay positive, guys.
Yeah. What do you reckon? We'll wrap it up?
Look, I'd love to talk for another 3 hours as we always do.
Yeah.
We just.
But I feel like you've done a really good job of actually saying this is the end this time.
Like really hinting to you guys.
Yeah. Like shut the.
I'm due for a coffee.
Yeah.
If you could stop talking, I'd appreciate it.
Can you get out of my studio?
Is that?
You're stinking up. Get out of here.
No, I'm sure we'll do it again real soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. This has been really fun.
No, thank you for your time. We finally got there, eh?
I know. I've loved it. Seriously.
Awesome.
And really proud of you for doing this, man.
Next one with Louis.
Yeah, with the big guy. The true legend.
Yeah. You guys could just sit behind him.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll feed him lines if you want.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.